Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Exploring Still Connected. I'm Reyes,
I'm Dee.
and we are here doing another episode of Roadside Ramblings. So we have some special guests today. We're joined by Angela and Gordon from Truck Camper Magazine.
Hello, hello. Yeah.
And we're going to take a few minutes of their time to figure out, what drives them, what's their background, what are they passionate about, and, where are they going next? So before we jump into the hard questions and really grill them,
Oh boy.
why don't you guys take a minute and just briefly tell us about yourselves?
Wow. What about ourselves? My name is Gordon White. I've always been a creative. So I've always been the guy who is drawing with the rapidograph pen and the sketch pad in my hand. I've always been a writer. I've always been writing music. Like that's just me. I can't get that energy out of my body fast enough. So if you ask me who I am at my core, I'm a creative. That's just what I am. So, Angela, what are you?
Oh my goodness, that is such an open-ended question.
Dive deep.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. I'm a traveler. I'm a truck camper. I'm a quilter. I love cats.
She loves cats.
I love cats.
Likewise. I think we're biased towards cats in this.
Yeah, we could just
video
talk
here.
about
Yeah,
cats.
cats and traveling but yeah, Gordon and I run Truck Camper Magazine, and we're on the road at least half of the year, sometimes more.
What we really are is I'm a creative, right? I said that already, but I can't remember my own name or where I can't. If it was up to me to direct where we go, I would be lost before we left the campground we're in right now. I literally have no idea where I am right now. I don't remember birthdays. I don't remember names. I don't remember anything because I'm a creative. I'm this guy.
Yeah.
Angela, thank God, is the opposite of that. She has her mind just locks on information, collects data, and puts it all together. And she tells me what to do every day, which is great because honestly, I look at her every day and I go, "What am I supposed to do today?" And she tells me, and it's great. So the lucky thing that happened here is two opposites attracted, and then fell into this Truck Camper Magazine thing. And thank God we have two sides of very important skill sets, and it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super lucky.
And I think we're very similar in that aspect. I mean, we complement each other quite a bit. I would argue I'm the gregarious one. You're using that word earlier.
You don't have to argue that. Nobody's going to argue against you.
It's
You have to be able to pronounce it, though.
gregarious.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Unfortunately, so no one has ever complimented me on my pronunciation. So why change now?
Yeah. No, I got it. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you kind of fell into this Truck Camper Magazine thing, and we've talked a little bit in the past, and I'm sure you get questions around how do you do this, how did that come about, yada yada yada. But I mean, in the current day and age of internet and online resources, YouTube, being able to learn just about anything you want, at any time, when you started Truck Camper Magazine, that wasn't necessarily available. And I guess what I want to know is, why did you feel the need to start Truck Camper Magazine? What was your why?
You want this? Or you want me?
Well, we were truck campers. Actually, Gordon, way back in 2004, we lived in Maryland. We were moving to Pennsylvania, and I needed to change teaching jobs, and Gordon was working as a writer. And he goes, we're moving to Pennsylvania. Why don't we take some time and go on a cross-country trip?
Love that.
And I was like, okay, let's do it. And he was doing all the research on the different types of RVs.
So can you believe that? And you say to your wife, "Hey, let's just drop everything, buy an RV, and hit the cut." She should have said, "No."
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah.
Right behind us.
How lucky is that, right? Married the right girl. So go ahead.
So anyway, during the research process, Gordon went, I like these things called truck campers. They go on the back of a truck. I saw a picture on the internet of a camper on a truck, and I go, I don't know about that because you can't imagine all that's in the back of it. Like you walk in them and there are bathrooms and kitchens and a dinette and a queen size bed. You just can't get over that. So Gordon did all the research to find out that a truck camper was what we wanted.
But that
So-
research is what led to this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Because the research was at the time in 2004, there were forums and everybody has an opinion and everyone's right on a forum, right? That's just how forums are.
Yeah.
I mean, people post like they drive.
What was the go-to forum back then?
RV.net. And RV.net was honestly,
it's still there.
and it's still there and it was awesome. I mean, I shouldn't say anything other than that. It was
very helpful at the time.
I learned
It's a mixed bag, right? You never know what you're getting.
Right.
You have to vet the information.
Yeah. And of course, the manufacturers with their brochures and everything were very inclusive. Like anything you wanted to do was, yay, give us your money and put the truck and camper together and go. And I'm very safety conscious, which everybody knows who's ever read the magazine. So at some point along the way, I realized I really wasn't going to get a definitive anything out of all this information. So I way over trucked, way under campered, depending on how you want to look at it. Truck Camper Magazine, when it started, from the beginning, was the magazine we needed when we started.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why we started with how to choose a truck, how to choose a camper, how to match a truck and camper were the very first articles we did. In an attempt to make the magazine we needed. And obviously, I thought other people would need to.
Yeah.
And that was it.
And what were you doing before? So, Angela, you mentioned you were teaching.
I was teaching 3rd and 4th grade.
Okay.
Yes.
And what were you doing, Gordon?
I was a bum.
You're a bum. Perfect.
I had been running a music magazine in Washington, D.C. called MX Music Guide. So it was a guide and directory to all the recording studios and the musical instrument stores and the clubs and everything.
Yeah.
It was a really awesome lifestyle for a single guy who didn't mind eating ramen noodles just to be free and be hanging out with all the fun people, right? So I'm very proud of that work. I learned a lot. I learned I could do anything. I learned I could walk in and sell things. I learned I could write. I learned I could publish. Like I just learned all these skills. But then Napster and iTunes came out and 9/11 happened and that whole industry just turned upside down.
Yeah.
So by the time Angela agreed to well, I shouldn't say this. By the time she wrestled me to the ground to get married, which took her a decade, we won't go into that, but it's true. I really was a bum. I had nothing going on. I told Angela, I said, I'm either your lottery ticket or a nightmare. I can't decide. You'll figure it out. But it worked out. It did. It was. But I was an entrepreneur. I knew it was going to
can't tell you how many businesses Gordon started that went completely nowhere.
Yeah.
And we worked really hard. He worked really hard. I was teaching. He worked really hard to get something to go. But if somebody were to look at all the businesses you had started and failed and started and failed and started, it takes a lot to be an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
People don't realize to start a company is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. It really is.
You're going to start and fail 150 companies before you get one that's very successful. I think that might be an over-exaggeration, but I think there's a lot of people that have had that happen, and I think that makes a lot more sense. Truck Camper Magazine didn't happen overnight. There's a lot of other work that went into it and support, and then also I imagine, as a teacher, the part of the educational aspect, right? Truck Camper Magazine, it sounds like it was built for you, even though you weren't the one that was going to be receiving it. Maybe you reflected on the process, but you're sharing it with the group and you're teaching. So I could imagine that maybe that had a bit to do with it as well.
But teachers have to be extremely organized.
Yeah.
And planners.
Yeah.
And just
But that's not the most important skill, right?
Yeah.
Teacher needs to know how to discipline her classroom. So she had that with me going. So it all worked out.
Dare I even ask?
No.
So Truck Camper Magazine, truckcampermagazine.com. For those of you that are not aware of it, check it out. Again, we found a lot of great information there. People probably talk to you about that all the time. And again, if anyone has any questions, you could probably reach out or email Gordon and Angela through their website. But I really want to know more about your experiences and your journey so far on the road. And with this Roadside Ramblings segment, please feel free to give yourself a promo for Truck Camper Magazine. But I really want to know more and dive into the people you've met, the places you've been, and the experience that you had. And I guess before to start that, how long have you been on the road?
We've been on the road at this point for 7 months, right?
This year in 2023, but we started truck camping in 2005 officially. We were full-time for 3 years straight, but most years, we're on the road at least 6-7 months at a time.
Yeah. What time of year do you like to travel?
Mainly spring, summer, and fall.
Yeah, fair weather.
Yeah.
Fair weather campers.
Yeah,
That's
we
very much
follow the 70 degrees all the time.
Yeah.
That's what we try.
Love that.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way to do it because you're setting yourself up for success. I think there's a lot to be said about type 2 fun. This is what we call it, where you have to like kind of suffer through some of these experiences.
We not actually that fun at the time.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
road.
But you still enjoy the experience or the adventure.
It's good fodder for the writing to go through all kinds. Even we were in a pretty bad car accident, and truck was totaled, camper was damaged, and even in that moment, which was very traumatic, I thought, this is going to be fantastic for my writing.
Well, I mean, it's perspective too, right? You look on the bright side. Anytime you face challenges or any difficulties in your path, you could look at it, very negatively, if you will, or you could look at the positive in it and grow from it. And I think that that's kind of what you choose to look at things.
That sounds really good. But
In the moment, that was awful.
The truth about that experience and others that are anywhere close to that level of traumatic whatever is usually one of us is freaking out and the other one is pulling the other one like it's okay, right?
Well, the funny thing was the accident happened. We were full-time at the time, so our camper was our house. And the guy T-boned us. The truck was like, the springs were all over the ground, the jacks were on the ground, and I was just crying. And I kept going, he hit my home. Oh. He hit my home, my house. Yeah. And Gordon came up to me and he looks me in the eye and he goes, Angela, we got hit in the best place.
Yeah.
Right in front of Northwood Manufacturing, a truck camper manufacturer. He goes, they have everything we need. They can help us. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
I freaked out later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gordon had his freak out
Once
that night.
he came to, I'm like, are you good? Yeah. Okay. Because now it's my turn.
Yeah. No, having that support is super, super valuable. And I think, anyone out there, we all have support, hopefully infrastructures of some sort, whether it's friends, family, partners, in those situations where you have difficult trials to overcome, I think that's why we have that support system.
Well, I think also on the road, for people who live on the road full time, you kind of learn to depend on other people, and you do see the best of people come out, because when you need help, people will shine and people will help, and they will realize that you're in a time of hurt and go, what can I do to help?
Yeah.
We found that the whole town of La Grande, when we were in that accident, they just rallied around us. We were there for a month and people were coming out of the woodwork we never knew. And
I've never experienced anything like that.
Had you been there before?
Yes.
Yeah, because we visited Northwood several times to see Arctic Fox and Wolf Creek being built. But the traumatic experience of the accident made us really get to know La Grande.
And complete strangers, right?
Yeah.
Which I think that's yes, you had a connection, through Northwood, and they probably knew people, and the network comes out, and that's one of the things that maybe a lot of people will underestimate. It's like, oh, I don't have 10 people that I really, really just want to help or trust or can lean on. Sometimes you just need one, and you leverage the network of support that's out there.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was an amazing experience. It's almost hard to describe because I'm not good at depending on others. I like to be fully self-contained in all ways. I
Yeah,
don't want to.
we're not very good at asking for help.
Yeah.
I think it's
So that was a very
a bit of a Gen X thing. I don't want to need anybody for anything. You know, latchkey kid. I'm good, thank you.
Dang.
So to suddenly need people to help us in that moment was interesting for me.
Yeah.
It's like I got to let go a little bit.
I think I'm a lot like that as well, so I could definitely relate to that.
Yeah. Well,
And I don't know if it's pride or, you know, the old Boy Scout model of being prepared and, you know, just being self-sustainable, I think.
for me, it's growing up with divorced parents and being on your own a lot and having to actually be self-contained as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the lesson of being in LeGrand was you can relax. There goes the audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are, for those of you that are watching at home or on your phones, we're currently in North Carolina at the North Carolina Truck Camper Rally. This has been going on for 5 years now, I believe.
I think this is the 5th year.
This is the 5th year. So we just had a nice little flyby, a really cool little prop plane going by, but a beautiful event, beautiful rally. This is our first rally. Your first time at this rally.
At this rally, yeah.
So yeah, if you guys are interested in checking it out, great community. We've been blown away by the people that are out here.
Yeah.
And, now that the plane's gone, you know, please continue. And, you know, I'm curious, that sounds like a magical experience and something that is rare. And we've had those opportunities to meet people where, you know, I describe it as, gosh, my faith in humanity has been reignited because, you know, the unexpected happens and people really show
Helps. Yeah.
how good humanity can be. But I'm curious, were there any other examples or experiences like that? Or was that kind of the pinnacle of
honestly
support?
The other thing I think of when you ask me that is getting to know the truck camper industry, and getting to know the truck camper community was an absolutely magical experience. How connected we became with the people that were reading the magazine, and one of the interesting things about being a creative and putting yourself out there through your writing or whatever it is that you're creating is people become connected to you. Like they feel they know you. And I have to admit that was also hard for me to kind of understand. Like you don't really know me, but in that openness that they bring to you, if you step into that, there's this amazing shortcut to friendship that we've enjoyed now for almost 17 years. It's probably the best part of what we do is that the creative goes out into the world and people read it on their phone or on their computer and they connect to us and then we meet them and something happens. It's really neat. So
I think we're just at the front and like cusp of seeing that every once in a while with our YouTube channel, right? We have people come up to us at the expo and they're like, "Hey, we found you," and we're like,
this warmth, and you're like, "Wow, are we related?"
"Yeah."
It's, and I know people like tease us all the time, especially in a rally like this. Oh, you're famous, and it's like, no, that's not what it is. It's this connection that we're talking about now that you're seeing expressed. That it's special. It's cool.
One thing we were talking about this morning during the, I don't even know what it was, seminar or whatever, was that there's kind of a filter for people who live in these little boxes on the back of trucks, where if you're a couple especially, and you can live in the back of a pickup truck for days, weeks, months, years on end, you know, it's a pretty special type of person. So you bring them together in a rally, all these people who are pretty easy to get along with because they kind of have to be. It does. It brings special people. I think the truck camper community, it's a special people because of
Well,
that.
otherwise it'd be a cage match. I mean, come on. You put two people that don't get along in this thing and just, you know, put the cameras up because we're going to start a YouTube channel.
But it brings really friendly people together.
Yeah.
So it just naturally goes that way.
We just think we're awesome. Truck campers are awesome. We just like the whole thing. We're just into this.
Yeah. I mean, it is I agree. I think it's fantastic. I think everyone in on this conversation right now is very biased because we do enjoy truck camper life. And we've only been full time on the road for a month now, but we had the whole summer to get out, explore, and travel, taking part in the Overland Expos. And we came from the off-roading industry before, we had custom rock crawlers we fabricated, and then we got into overlanding, and we're spending, 4 months out of the year in our Tacoma working remotely, exploring, and that's what kind of led us into finding something that's more sustainable long term. And we met you at the Overland Expos this year. So we actually ran into each other at all four, even though we said it was only going to be two.
I know.
But I'm curious what your thoughts are about the transition, or not even the transition, but the synergy between overlanding and truck camping. Because I tend to see a lot personally, but I'm curious, what are your thoughts?
There's definitely an overlap. There's a Venn diagram where on one side, you have traditional RV truck campers. So the RV marketplace is its own animal. And the truck camper segment of the RV marketplace is like 5-6% of that market. And then on the other side, you have the Overland market, which is dominated by, a lot of Jeeps and Tacomas and rooftop tents and motorcycles. And I mean, there's so much variety in there, probably more variety in that market than there is even in the RV market. And yet there's the pop-up camper market that was always in that go anywhere, camp anywhere, lightweight, simple overland thing. They just never knew that they were overland because overland wasn't what it is. So there's this overlap between the traditional RV / truck camper market and the overland / truck camper market.
Yeah, we kind of fit nicely right in between the two.
Yeah.
And we can be classified as an RV, or we can go and off-road, off-grid.
Yeah.
Where we want to go. So the truck campers are kind of really nice in the middle with both segments.
Yeah. And, overlanding is, a term that has been stuck to, basically vehicle base living or camping, which we've been doing for decades. It's nothing new. It just happens to be a new buzzword. But I agree. I think that truck camping, and, it's one of the reasons that we went with the truck camper ourselves. We're planning to modify it more, and, we're planning to super single it. So it'll be on like 41-inch tires and a lot more capable to go off-road. Is it going to be our dedicated off-road toy? No, not at all. But can we get back there and get away from, the average Joe that's just, going a mile off the road and doing a campsite? Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons we decided on this platform instead of a van or a bus or an RV.
The funny thing about the two markets, though, that I've learned is the overland market wants nothing to do with anything that looks like an RV.
Yeah.
It's like an allergy. Like, oh, that's an RV. Even if it's perfect for what I want, no. And the truck camper, the RV truck camper world doesn't even understand what overland is.
Yeah.
So even though there's this obvious overlap that we can see, like if there was a four-wheel camper at this rally, it wouldn't be out of place. And it certainly wouldn't be out of place at the Overland Expo. They don't want anything to do with each other.
Yeah.
It's true.
So I, as a person who's responsible for representing both markets in different ways, haven't figured out how to bridge that gap, except just by almost ignoring it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing that drew us to our camper is that, it's classified technically, it's like RV, but it doesn't look like an RV. It doesn't look like the interior, especially, looks very unique, and it's very different from what you would typically see in an RV. And that's one reason we loved it. And that's probably because we came from that overlanding market. Like, I can completely see that perspective.
Yeah. It's fascinating because, this is our first truck camper rally. Honestly, this is the first time we've been around this many truck campers. And everyone's been extremely warm and welcoming and, very helpful. And I've learned a lot already. We've sit around and just listened to people kind of be a fly on the wall. And I've already learned all these little gold nuggets of things I need to try out with my own camper or for insurance or whatnot, because I haven't been exposed to it. But then again, one of the things that we've done, in our travel so far is we've also kind of found ourselves following and migrating towards just people that are on the road full time. So regardless of truck campers or Class A RVs or van lifers, I love those guys because, they're also going out to like the Moab and strange areas that we like to go. So we run into a lot more van lifers. and it's fun because, at that point we're sharing and telling stories of just adventure in the journey, right? It's not all about gear. Like, I'm a big gear head. If we look around, I have all this gear in front of us, camera gear, podcasts, etc. Love gear, but it's those stories of the adventure, of the journey, of the lifestyle, how they do this. Like, oh yeah, if you're in a big city, you should camp at these spots, boondock here, like all these little tips. And that's why we started this segment, Roadside Ramblings, so you could really dive into that, because I think that is it's a stronger bond than just what truck you have, what gear, what camper.
Once you get past the rig,
Yeah,
and all the gear, what we're looking for is road magic.
Yeah.
What we want, and we have a specific, we describe that in a specific way. Like when we go places, whether it's at this rally or whether we're actually at a destination, we're looking for recommendations. Like, don't go there and not go to this restaurant, or don't go there and not go on this hike. And we've learned as much as possible to just trust those suggestions, because they lead to the most amazing things. And that is road magic, because you can't predict what someone's going to say, and then you just have to lean into it. So I look at these rigs as tools. It's for some people, the van life is the right way to go. And it's totally fine. For some people, the truck camper, some people, the Class A motorhome, I don't care. Whatever gets you out there and gets you into the position where that road magic can happen.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's something very, very special about just being out there on that journey.
We would have never met you if we did.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be sitting here. This YouTube channel probably wouldn't be a thing.
Definitely wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah. And it accumulates. Like, there's a lot of people we know through these accidental road magic kind of things. And then we become friends with them. And then we introduce them to people we've met through other road magic. It snowballs. And you just have to let it happen and just appreciate it. Like, that's so cool. Like, to think that all that led to wherever that is going.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And I think, a big part of that too, it's one thing about being on the road and adventuring, but I also think being open to meeting people, again, like we said earlier, sometimes you want to be self-reliant, self-dependent, and you don't want to ask for help. And this, I feel like those interactions, butting into those people, could also walk that line. And I think just being open to having those conversations.
We've done something that might certainly surprise our parents, in that readers over the years would just send a casual, hey, if you're ever in our area, stop in. So we have gone and stayed with, in our camper, readers all over the United States and Canada.
Never met them before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not worried
They
about
showed up in their driveway.
crazy
Chopped us up.
psycho
Right.
people running out with axes.
Right. No, I mean, there's been a couple, but we got, 8-cylinder engine. We get out of there. But
We've had the most amazing experiences. I mean, we showed up at one of our readers' houses, and he restores Unimogs.
Yeah.
Oh,
So for the weekend, he had his Unimogs set up, and we got to drive him all around his property. Good thing I know how to drive a manual transmission.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing experience. And had we not just gone, okay, we'll come to your house,
Yeah.
we'll hang out,
Yeah.
never would have had that experience otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome thing. We usually don't say no when people invite us over.
Do you we've had similar experiences, and I have a lot of great stories around that too. But I'm curious, do you just get a gut feeling? Do you ever feel vibes? So with people, if you meet them in person, it's very easy. Most people that we meet, again, they're like-minded. You're selecting for a phenotype, if you will, of people that want to help and work with each other. But, if it's someone that's just a phone call or an email, I feel like it's a little harder to kind of build that rapport.
it's definitely a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
And because we're on planet Earth and this is reality, it doesn't always work perfectly.
Yeah.
But we've always had a good, you're talking about, meeting someone with traveling and truck camping in common. So you always have a common ground to talk about. There's always the magazine, and some of those people turn into lifelong friends and some don't, and all of that's okay.
Yeah.
I guess we go in kind of knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been Definitely, as Angela pointed out, some of our best memories over the last 16, 17 years have been people we've just trusted and just gone in and done it and enjoyed the experience. And then they take us on some
Excursion, jeeping adventure, whatever. They're like,
You get to live like a local for like a week, and I think that's one of the things.
Yeah.
If you're full time on the road, and I know you guys are kind of part time now, 7 months a year.
Yeah.
I would argue that's full time.
that's
But I mean, you sacrifice that normalcy of knowing the ins and outs of the hometown when you're traveling, and then if you get to stay with these people for the weekend, you almost get a little reprieve from that unknown, and you actually get to experience normalcy to some extent and new experiences, right?
Yeah. And of course, we all want to show off where we're from, right?
Yeah.
So they'll take us to whatever it is that's interesting in their area. And it's just special. It's part of,
Yeah.
like I said, it's the best part of what we do.
Yeah, we had a gentleman invite us over to his property in Montana. Ryan, again, if you're seeing this, thank you very much for having us out. And they were just extremely warm and welcoming, his entire family. And one of the things that they did is they took us out to pick wild huckleberries
Oh,
so we can
cool.
make huckleberry shakes for dessert.
Right.
I've never picked huckleberries. I don't think I've ever eaten huckleberries up to that point. And this was really arguably our first time spending any real time in Montana. So we spent the weekend with them, and they showed us around basically their backyard, which is this giant mountain, and all of these fun like summer camp-esque type of activities. And it was just one of those things we wouldn't be able to experience and would never, like, we couldn't pay someone to do that.
No, you couldn't. And the perspectives it opens up in your mind are just, I know. And sometimes it takes a while to kind of hit you. And what I really enjoy is when, it's like you visited 3 people over the space of 10 years and you realize you just learned something just because of the combination of those experiences. So, yeah. It's great. We love that part of our life. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've learned that that's probably one of the highest highs, as you say. You're going to have some of the lowest lows and the highest highs, and I think people will probably be a low at some point too. But so far, we've been very fortunate, knock on wood. And hopefully it continues to be that way. But I'm curious, besides the people and the magic of the road, are there any destinations? You've been all over North America, Canada, and the U.S. at least. I don't know if you've been to Mexico, but is there any just wow, I would love to go back there. Like, how did we stumble upon this type of location?
You want that?
Well, we've been to basically every continental United States state and most of the Canadian provinces. And there are a few that stick out. Utah is amazing.
Yep.
Amazing. And we go back there and back there and back there, and the desert just calls. And up until last year, I think I would have said Utah, but now it's Nova Scotia. And I love it there. And we're going to go back next summer, and I can't wait. It is a standout. And you could go for a month, never pay to camp. Beautiful spots right on the water next to lighthouses. It's so relaxing. It's like when we drove past the border and you go into Canada, it's just this weight just goes off your shoulders. It's a wonderful feeling.
It's a more relaxed culture. How about that?
Yeah.
And Angela discovered sea glass. So we were finding sea glass all over the beaches in Nova Scotia, which was not something we expected to get into. And next thing you know, we were completely obsessed.
What is sea glass?
It's just glass that's like hundreds of years old that's been, just formed by the ocean waves.
It looks like a jewel. But it's been more rounded. It's polished.
Yeah, some of it's got a little bit of I don't know what it is.
Well, the sand almost gives it like a sugary, like candy.
Sugar coating, right?
And you think, oh, yeah, so what? And then you find one on the ground and go, ooh, that's pretty. And then you find another one. 3 hours later, your pockets are bulging. And you're like, there's more.
But
I don't
then
care if it's getting dark.
you learn that the red ones and the blue ones are super rare.
Oh.
Right? So then you start, oh, I found a purple one.
Gotta catch them all.
I found a blue one. It almost becomes this
We get competitive. Like,
I love that.
And the other thing is, okay, with sea glass, it's trash. But you're walking on the beach, you're listening to the ocean waves, you're not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
None of the crap going on in the world, not my work. I'm just walking on the beach looking for pretty pieces
Angela
of
and I
glass.
are also collectors. I look for LP records because I'm a music guy. I look for vacuum tubes because I have an all vacuum tube stereo system at home. Angela looks for cat figurines because we're obsessed with cats. So when we found the sea glass, it was just one more thing and it was free. It was everywhere.
It's relaxing.
And it was
Yeah.
on the beach in Nova Scotia. What can you argue with? I mean, it was great.
Sounds amazing to me.
And then you're camping right next to it.
Yeah.
Right
That's the best.
right next to the ocean. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
We want to head that way eventually. I don't think it's going to happen this year, but we talked about going up to Maine, Nova Scotia, going
Maybe
into
2025.
that eastern part of Canada a lot more and just exploring. But
And
maybe
Quebec. Add Quebec to your list.
Quebec.
Fascinating.
Yeah, next
Wonderful
year.
place.
This year, we're staying on the western half of North America. So,
Yeah.
but it's great to hear that. Like there's just so many things out there, so many locations and places to see that they're all magical and known, right?
Yes.
You're always going to find a little bit of paradise regardless of where you go, but some places just so much easier.
The other thing Gordon and I have been now truck camping since 2005, and we've been cross country. We've been so blessed. I mean, we've probably been cross country 15 times.
Yeah.
I mean, some people never drive coast to coast. And even though we've done that so many times, there are still places we've never been to before.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how big the continent is and how many places there are to return to, new places to discover. I mean, on this trip, we went into the Canadian Rockies and hiked the Parker Ridge hike. One of the most amazing hikes we've
Completely
been.
kick your ass. You're like, oh,
It is
yeah.
completely
I'm in
uphill for
shape.
the first
Yeah.
mile.
Call me when you're at the top of that.
Very humbling. Very humbling.
It does. But absolutely gorgeous. And slot canyons. We did a slot canyon this year outside of
Goblin Valley.
which was that called? Was that
It was called Little Wild Horse Canyon. And if you haven't been there, go.
Awesome.
That is so amazing. 8 miles of how can this be this cool? And then it.
I've got to I still haven't put the videos up on Instagram, but I want to put the videos up as a reel because that was like one of the most amazing slot canyon hikes we've ever done.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very cool.
And it's I think we take it for granted because we're from the United States, but North America has some of the most amazing geographic diversity, and it's all drivable, right?
Mhm.
Like we could just hop in our trucks, fill
Go
it
to
up with
Yellowstone.
gas.
That's why I said in my speech, we went to OEV and Red Deer. It's just up the road,
Yeah.
which is
Nah,
I know that's funny, but it is. It's just up the road.
yeah, we're very fortunate because of that. And I mean, again, you can find magic. We also love Utah. That continues to be one of our favorite places. We have a lot of friends there too. We know the area well, so there's a sense of comfort. So it's almost like a second home for us.
Yeah.
Which I think helps because, again, when you're on the road, when you're traveling a lot, seeing a friendly face on the road, I think that's also something that you look forward to. And it's why we hit the road, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
So you no longer feel like you can't go see your friends. I think the hard part about the idea of not traveling anymore is you realize you're not going to see a lot of the people that you've become close to.
Yeah.
I think a lot of full-timers go on loops and they kind of go to the same places every year or they have a figure eight that they do and they're not. People always ask, what's your favorite place? What's your favorite place? And I always say, it's not anymore about where we're going. It's about the people.
Yeah.
So you hit that rally every year, you hit that show every year because you're going to see so and so.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it becomes more about that. And then, of course, when you're full time, you've also got to go, well, we should go home. We visit our families and try to make that into our loop too. Because when you do, you get very lonely sometimes because when you're in a town or a city and you're constantly there and you've got your community and your family and your friends and you're going Friday night to bingo or whatever you do, you don't have that consistency on the road, that community. So you make the road your community and the people you've met. And like Gordon said, a lot of full timers have circuits. They're like, I want to make sure I hit this rally every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're just learning that. So, I mean, these are amazing gold nuggets and tips for, us as well as hopefully anyone watching. Because I think, everything you said resonates, 100%. And again, we've met you a few times on the road and we've kind of bumped into each other, which I think that's even more exciting because
They've been following us. This whole thing. He said, look, if you just sit down and talk to us on camera, we'll stop following you around. And
I mean, there's some bit of truth there. We've been following the expos. But I mean, I think that's kind of cool. And it's one of the things I want to do. And I'm trying to make more friends with people that are full timers. So maybe we can meet up and travel for a couple weeks,
yeah.
And just kind of do that and have a little nomadic road community, for a short term. I think we all have our own interests and wants and needs, and eventually we'd go our separate ways. But I think that would be pretty cool too.
Isn't that weird though? Okay, so we're full time on the road. So obviously we like being on our own. Right? We like the adventure. We like being self-contained. And then we need people.
Yeah.
But not too long. Then we on our own again. Right? So it's just constant. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're social creatures, right? Like we need interaction, to fulfill our lives, right? That's a fact of life. It's biologically proven.
Some of us more than others.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some more than
Right.
others.
I need more vacuum tubes and records and people.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's
I need more cats than people.
Yeah, cats. I should have said cats.
Yeah.
Just that you're allergic to.
I know. I'm allergic.
We are all, yeah.
Horribly allergic. Are you also allergic to cats?
Yes. A lot of bad decisions going on.
Yeah, we have very similar. We both have black cats. Ours is Durzo, Cosmo,
Yeah.
and apparently Gordon and I are both allergic to our cats.
Yeah. That's what drugs are for, man.
Yeah.
Just gotta get a gray long-haired cat.
Yeah.
They are hypoallergenic.
Yeah, Nebelung is a breed specifically bred for that. Yeah, fun facts. Fun facts for.
Think we can trade Cosmo in? Is that how that works?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, that's a good transition. What is life like traveling with pets? Like where we travel with cats, so we kind of experience it. I don't think anyone at home can really relate to traveling with a cat. Well, first of all, cat or dog people. I think there's both out in the world, and you can love both animals.
Right.
Pick your own. But what's it been like traveling with a cat?
He's a terrible driver for one.
Well, it's interesting because we had Harley before Cosmo, and Harley was very calm because he had seizures and he was on Valium. So anything we did with Harley, he just didn't care. He was okay with everything. He was kind of a big lump. Cosmo's more of a kitty cat, pounce and follow the birds and everything like that. And he had a really hard transition becoming a truck camping cat. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people ask me with the magazine all the time, like, oh, traveling with a dog's no big deal, but I don't want to bring my cat along. And really, Cosmo's first month on the road was really tough for us and for him. And you just have to keep introducing things and taking it slow and knowing they're going to be meowing a lot sometimes in the beginning, but they'll get used to it.
Yeah.
And Cosmo's got a harness and a leash, and that way we always feel we have control. So he can't dash away.
Mm-hmm.
I know
the harness calms him down.
Yeah.
It's an amazing little twist, kind of like the thunder shirt.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. That's exactly what I thought when you said that.
So, right. We all know probably people that could use the same thing, right? But we put the thunder shirt, this harness on Cosmo, and it settles him down. So that's an invaluable tool for us.
Yeah. And we had a very similar experience. And I think anyone at home that wants to try traveling with cats, you got to give it time. It took us about 2 to 3 weeks before our cats would stop just meowing in the car.
Well, and that was just when we were full time. We had taken them on almost every camping trip we'd been on before that too, just to get them used to being out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of it too. And just realizing that they're going to be different. We have 2 cats with us. One of them, she's still scared. She doesn't really leave the camper much.
Yeah.
She just likes to hang out in there, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But our other one, if he could be outside 24/7, he would.
Yeah.
And he loves exploring. So
Yeah.
they're just like people. they're different. Everybody likes to do different things.
Exactly. Yeah. So just be patient, but it's definitely worth it. I would argue having our cats on the road with us it's really enriched our travels.
It's been fun.
I would agree with that 100%. Except when he walks on my head at night.
Yeah. You know, there's pros and cons of everything.
Like puke on the bed. But that's just like at home.
You can do that in the house.
Exactly. It wouldn't change.
Or somehow discovers your toes in the middle of the night, think, oh, I'm going to bite that. Which is always like, wow, that's a way to wake up.
Yeah.
So, kind of wrap this up. I don't want to hold you guys too long. I know you're very busy.
There's a lot of people who want to talk to.
A lot of people. They're
very
popular
famous.
people.
Yeah.
Since you're here, like I personally, we're new to truck camping, and I have a huge interest in tech and technology. And you are a lot of ways the experts for truck campers and truck camper technology, where it's going. So I'm curious to hear your opinion on, where do you see truck campers going in the next 5 to 10 years? And then, what are you really excited about in innovations today?
Levitation, mostly. Yeah. What we're looking at now is battery and electrical systems have obviously gone really deep into huge lithium and huge solar systems and all the Victron stuff, and the capabilities and the interconnectedness with the phones and everything have really made leaps and bounds, and that's very exciting. It's also a nightmare for manufacturing, and it's not necessarily friendly to the end user. A lot of confusion, a lot of I don't understand my system, a lot of hesitancy to jump into that deep water. So what we're seeing now that we're excited about is there are companies that are coming out with all-in-one systems that are more plug and play, where what would traditionally have been the Victron equipment and the battle-born batteries and for example, are married into one box that you would just place into the camper on the production line. So we already perked the ears of the manufacturers and dealers because you just saved them a lot of time and concern. But also being a totally integrated system with integrated display panels and integrated apps for the phone, for the end user, they're much more friendly. The other thing that I'm interested about these systems that are coming out.
So is that kind of like a souped up version of like a Goal Zero or a
like a mega Goal Zero.
In fact, Goal Zero is that we went to Goal Zero. I mean, we're in their factory, and I almost tripped over what I thought was a refrigerator that Goal Zero was coming out with. One of those. And I said, "What is this?" Oh, this is our new battery system. Blah blah blah. But that's not for truck campers. And of course, I'm like, dude,
that is totally for truck campers.
We are all about that. In fact, I think you should have been talking to us first. Interesting. So it was a really interesting.
But the cool thing about their system is technically, like you said, it's like a mega Goal Zero. Like think a 12-volt refrigerator type thing, but you could take it out when you winterize and take it in your house.
That's what I was just going to think of.
You take the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Your whole battery system.
Hook it up to your house solar, maybe, if you had a few.
It's designed for that.
Plug it in your house.
When they show the product, they're showing the main heart of the system, and then they're showing their tanks, which are another 380 watt hours. Don't quote me on that, but another 300 and some watt hours of lithium, and then that also plugs right into that, and you can put another one in, right? So I'm excited to see that, because honestly, when I see these very complex systems, the way that they're installed permanently in a camper, I admire what they can do. Obviously, running the air conditioning for, all day long, et cetera, but I don't like complexity like that. It worries me. And was it done right? How's this going to do off-road? What about if it gets super cold? All these kinds of things.
And I can see pros and cons of both, right? Like the all-in-one system, if something goes wrong on that, do you have to replace the entire unit now instead of replacing a component of like the modular?
In its early days, but that's logical that when you, obviously when you put all the components that were versatile and independent and put all in one box, well, now we have another question, which is...
Well, ideally, you could just... it is kind of the lunchbox. The components are all in there. It's packaged very nicely, but you could still replace them or upgrade if you need to. Like that would be a perfect world.
And I don't know, because I've never been inside one of these systems, and they look very, like when they do the 3D pulling apart, it looks very tightly integrated.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I'm excited about that because I'm not sure I'd want to go in with a full Victron, battle board and complex system in this camper.
Yeah.
Well, especially this being 19 years old and we don't have that much space. And so
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I love the idea of being able to pull it out in the winter, or, you could theoretically maybe run a small tiny home. Use that as your power source.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do some off-grid living, but not in your camper, you could potentially use it for multiple sources. The ideas are running through my head.
versatile.
Yeah.
And it's logical. It makes sense to go in this direction, to integrate all of these components. I'm hoping the Victrons and the Goal Zero or the Battleborns also offer products in that category.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen it yet, but right now Goal Zero is really impressed us with what they're doing.
Yeah. Does Anchor do anything like that? I know they make some great power banks too.
Probably. I mean, Renogy and Anchor and all those guys I think everyone realizes that's where they need to be going.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If for no other reason than on the production line at an RV manufacturing plant, they really need it to go
Yeah. Just plug and play.
right. And at a dealer level, there's also an appeal to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even for a consumer, I mean, consumers might be able to install these if they're that simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, that's what I see right now as exciting.
Yeah.
And levitation.
And levitation. I mean, it would definitely help with fuel efficiency, right?
That's right. When payload, no worries.
No worries.
Right.
Yeah.
Just give us a speeder. It's a big deal. It's 2023.
What about going forward? If you had to make some predictions, or what would you like to see brought to the truck camper world? And, I think this is fun too, as a thought experiment, because we could think about all the other world of technology out there, right? And what would we like to see brought into the truck camper space?
I want to see sanity return to truck campers.
Yeah.
I want to see simple truck campers come back with hard wall bathrooms and the basics that we all understood as fundamental in 1990 or 85. Like, that's what truck campers were.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And now, because of the influence of Overland, has seeped into the RV market and confused everything, right? No,
Yeah.
we don't need a bathroom, or we'll just stick the toilet in the middle of the camper.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to see truck campers get back to basics.
Yeah.
And also get back to pricing that normal people can approach.
Uh-huh.
It's gotten a little bit out of control, not just in the truck camper arena, but in the truck arena. I mean, people are looking at $150,000 to $200,000 right now to put a truck and camper together.
Yeah.
Gordon and I, our first rig, and I know this is 2005, way back, but our truck and camper together were $40,000.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Different.
So,
Different dollar.
ridiculous.
Still, yeah.
I mean, inflation is one thing, but that's
Over way past inflation.
Well, the trucks have done the same thing. They keep adding electronics and adding special features, and I don't know that we need them.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, and for the people at home that are interested in getting truck campers, there's a lot of great used campers out there and used trucks. Do your due diligence, do your research. You could always find a lemon or, something that could be, more work than you want to put into it. But I think there's a lot of value out there to be had if you're willing to do the research and shopping. But new, and we went that route, brand new truck, brand new camper, there's reasons we went that route. But it's not cheap, by any means. So, I mean, you really got to think about that. And if you're looking to get into this kind of space, understand too, like, hey, why don't you just start, taking your family out with a tent and trying camping and, do that for a week.
Focus on the experience.
Focus on the experience and see if that's what really you want to do. And don't make it so much about the gear. Again, I love gear. Big advocate for gear. I'll talk about gear all day. But I think it's the experience, and the journey that should keep you going and keep the passion there. If it's just gear that's going to make you passionate or make you want to get out there, you may want to reevaluate or reassess why you're getting into
the industry is geared to making us like that. Even I find ourselves sometimes promoting products on behalf of the industry, and it's like, they don't need that.
Yeah. Every industry, though, we're very materialistic culture.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just how we've gotten.
and everyone needs something different, right? Like, my needs aren't your needs, aren't your needs, aren't their needs. We talk about electronics, and this was one of those things it blew my mind today. So sitting here at the Truck Camper Rally, someone asks, I think you asked the question if, people would convert to, full electric campers. And I think 3 out of maybe like 60 or 70 people raise their hand.
2 of those being us.
Yeah, 2 of us being us. And most people still want like propane or diesel, which I think is a better option if you could get it, just arguably of safety. But, they don't want to go that full electric, there's a lot of concerns and other things. But I think a lot of it is also, change. They've always had propane. It's always been, that system. And then there's a lot of unknown, like electronics are complicated. Like you said, the Victron systems, the wiring systems that we're doing, they're not intuitive in any way. They're not plug and play. Like I'll spend the time doing the research and figuring it out. And, I love being on the bleeding edge of tech, but I'm the first one to say I'm kind of an outlier. And, it's not for everybody. So again, figure out what are your needs, what are your must-haves, what are your would like to haves, what are the things that you just, I can do without all of that. Figure that out. And then that's going to help you figure out what kind of vehicle and rig and gear you want.
Not haves too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, just to plug Truck Camper Magazine shamelessly, we have a Discover Truck Camping section. And it really, if you read those articles in sequence, I wrote those articles to meet people where they are and help them through the very thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What camper do you really need? What truck are you looking to own? It's just kind of going through the whole, it basically helps them ask the right questions about what they want to do. So we also have an article about how to look at a used truck camper. That's quite extensive.
Perfect.
So that article I think is also in the Discover Truck Camping section.
Yeah, definitely in the used camper section.
Yeah.
Yes. So basically the whole magazine, yes, there's a lot of candy shell, fun stuff, new campers, blah, blah, blah. But at its core, it's about safety and helping people get into the lifestyle without making any huge financial mistakes and to get to where they want to go.
Perfect. Awesome. Any other questions?
I mean, I think that's a great ending right there.
Yeah.
Go read the magazine.
Yeah, go read the magazine. What are you doing? Stop watching. What? Go read the magazine.
Awesome.
Go. Go.
Truckcampermagazine.com.
There
It's
you
on
go.
your phone. It's literally on your phone right now. You just don't know it. You got to pull it up, and there it is.
Okay, so I don't even have to do the outro for them.
Right.
So they already gave you the plug. You know where to find Angela and Gordon.
We're right here.
Social media as well. Follow them. Their Instagram content is hilarious. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Gordon is quite a character, and Angela is fantastic behind the camera. So keep up the great work. And I guess on that, any parting words of advice?
Eat your vegetables.
All right.
With that.
With that, thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed that Roadside Ramblings segment. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.
Bye.